I'm David Yeagley, just a follower of Jesus, and I'd like to invite you to live generously. Welcome to Living Generously. It's likely you're watching this video because at some point you gave a donation to the ministry of Sunset Lake Camp, perhaps to our scholarship fund or to our building fund, which is going to build our brand new Rainier Village cabins. Either way, thank you so much for your generous giving. You have no idea what a difference it makes here at camp. At Sunset Lake, we believe that donating money should be more than simply transactional. You write a check, we send a thank you note. Instead, giving ought to be transformational. The donation that you send should do more than send a child to camp or build a building here. It should change your life as well. And to that end, over the next several months, we want to explore what generous living is all about and encourage you to join the adventure. There are 5 key words that form the heart of generous living. We want to look at each one of them, but today we begin with the foundational word, and that is grace. When I was a child, I was obsessed with fairness. Everything had to be fair. Nowhere was it more important than at the breakfast table. You see, one of my all-time favorite foods is cold cereal. There's nothing I like more. In fact, I'd eat it at every meal if they let me. I love going to the grocery store and walking down the cold cereal aisle and seeing box after box and picking just the right one. But as a kid, the choices were rather limited. There was Wheaties and Cheerios and Corn Flakes and shredded wheat, just the basics. But once a week, usually on Saturday morning, my mom would open the cupboard and she would pull out a box of Life cereal. This was amazing. It was the only sweet cereal my mom would ever buy. But there was only one box, and there were 4 hungry boys to feed. And I was the youngest. So I'd watch as my brother Jeff would pour his box of cereal. And then my brother Brian would pour a big bowl as well. And then Steve would pour another big bowl. And that box of Life cereal was getting lighter and lighter. And by the time I got it, it felt really empty. And I poured everything out I could get. But I'd look at my bowl and I'd look at my brother's bowl. And inevitably, they had more. And so the cry went up. It's not fair, I'd wail. Brian has more cereal than I do. Steve's got a bigger bowl than I do. It's not fair, I'd wail. And my mom, being the wise woman that she is, would come out with a measuring cup in hand, and she would measure every bowl of cereal to be sure that we all had exactly the same amount. Do your kids ever say, it's not fair? Do you ever hear yourself saying those exact words? It's not fair. In our world, we're obsessed with fairness. But in the kingdom of God, fairness isn't all that it's cracked up to be. In Matthew 20, Jesus tells the story of a farmer who needed some help in his vineyard. And so early in the morning, he went and he found some workers and he said, I'll pay you a day's wages to come work for me. And so they did. But there was a lot of work. And so the farmer went back out to hire more workers at 9 o'clock. And he said the same thing, I'll pay you a fair wage. He went out again at noon and then again at 3. And then at 5 o'clock, 1 hour before quitting time, he went and hired even more workers and told them the same thing. At the end of the day, everyone lined up to get their pay. And the farmer paid every single worker the exact same amount. And the workers that started early in the morning said, "It's not fair. You're paying them the same amount that you're paying us." The farmer said, "I'm paying you what I told you I'd pay you. I'm paying you what you deserve. Are you complaining because I'm choosing to be generous with the others?" God's kingdom is built on generosity. Paul says that we've been saved by grace, that it's a gift from God. Do you really want God to be fair with you? Do you want to get what you deserve? Paul says that the wages of sin is death, and we've all sinned and fallen short. We don't need fairness. What we need is grace. But grace does more than just save us. It invites us to live graciously towards others. Several weeks ago, I was in the grocery store on a busy Friday afternoon buying some last-minute groceries. My cart was full and I headed towards the checkout. And it was a socially distanced line. It was very long. It started at the checkout, went across that little open area between the checkout and the aisles, and then it went down the aisle, probably halfway down the aisle. And I waited in line patiently, slowly moving forward, inch by inch, step by step, until finally I got to the very end of the grocery aisle. In front of me was that open space and then the checkout. And as I waited, anxious to get home, a lady came down that open space. She never looked into the aisle to see that people were waiting. She just pulled in front of me. The first thing that went through my mind was, it's not fair. I had to wait in line, a long line. She just cut in front of me. And I was about to say something when I remembered grace. And I thought, she doesn't have that much in her cart. I still have time. I can wait. And so I did. She never knew that she cut in front of me. I just didn't say anything. The person at the checkout moved forward. She moved forward into the checkout lane, began to unload things in her cart. And then, before I could pull my cart forward, a second lady cut in front of me. But this time, the lady in front of me, who had first cut me off, saw her do it. And she turned around and she had a mean look on her face and said, "You just cut that man off. There's a long line of people. You need to go to the back of the line." And this poor woman turned around and looked at me, and she was horrified, just embarrassed as she could be. And she began to apologize, and she began to move her cart around to the back of the line. I said, No. Don't worry about it. You just have a couple of items. I can wait. And so I did. That day, I left the grocery store a little later than I thought I would. But I left free. I left with joy. And that's what generous living is all about. So here's your assignment. Over the next several weeks, I want you to choose grace. Someone cuts you off at the grocery store line? Choose grace. Your coworker takes credit for that project that you worked so hard on? Choose grace. Are your kids getting on your nerves? Grace. Did your spouse say something to you and you just want to react? Again, choose grace. I want you to experience the joy and the freedom that grace can bring. This is what generous living is all about. It can change your life. I know it's changed mine. I'm David Yeagley, and this is Generous Living.